Fiveaa Saturday Sports Show with the latest sports news, interviews and opinions from the world of sport.
Heavy lifting, goes up the Graham, takes the lead. This is a famous victory.
Call 8223 0000. Email or SMS on 1999 1395 and have your say.
Here's Aloisi replacing the World Cup. Yeah! Missed off on the right.
It's the Fiveaa Saturday Sports Show on Adelaide's #1 sports station, and it starts now on 1395 Adelaide's Fiveaa.
And a very good morning to a beautiful day once again in Adelaide, and a beautiful day for the Adelaide Crows. Boy, do they smash Collingwood. We all know that it wasn't a fully kitted Collingwood, but they won by 77 points. Chris McDermott was there. Michelangelo Rucci was there. Chris, how good was it? Can we get carried away? Can we go over the top?
Well, you can get carried away about a couple of players. I think maybe not about where the team is. It was an under-strength Collingwood team, but you can only win, and they win by nearly 13 goals, so you've got to give them a couple of ticks for that. Ian Callanan's got to play round one. Tommy Lynch has got to play round one. They've got a forward line now that's starting to look like it can kick 20 goals, a midfield that wins plenty of balls, so there's a lot to like. But you're right, it's very, very early. I love their new game style. I think the new game style, albeit they fell back into a couple of old habits last night, is very good. It conserves a lot of energy, it allows them to be physical when they tackle and defend, and it's watchable, and it's a winnable game. It's a game that can win finals.
Bone, just to the people listening out there, when you talk about a new game style, a lot of people won't see massive difference. How do you describe it in 10 seconds? How would you describe Brenton Sanderson?
They kick.
And play on quickly?
Very simple. Well, I think the biggest change people will see when they see the Crows live is the choice to kick instead of handball. Now, last night, second quarter especially, when they were under the pump, and not surprisingly, it was more the senior players went the handball instead of the kick. But it's traditionally now about 2 kicks per handball, where last year it was about 1 for 1. So I think that's the most noticeable thing. They're a lot quicker with it. They're a lot more predictable with it. And I tell you what, Kurt Tippett is loving it. Players are in form. Kurt Tippett's one that's in form as well, and Jason Porplesia last night would have put the smile on a lot of Crows supporters' faces. He hit the deck, I reckon, in the second quarter.
Saw that.
You saw it, and we're all thinking, uh-oh.
But he got up.
He bounced up quicker than he went down. Yeah. Really good signs. He looks in great nick.
Bottom line is just magnificently simple, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It is about quick movement, just the simplistic things of football. And more important than that is, when the whole decision was made about who would get the Adelaide coaching job, is that Brenton Sanderson had this vision for how the game should be played, but more importantly, he had a vision about the Adelaide players. And they're just in love with him, aren't they? Because you can just tell that change has been more than just refreshing them. They are actually playing to their full want of the game.
The interesting thing is, and again, you know, you always love your first coach, and for a lot of the blokes at the Adelaide Footy Club over the last 5-6 years, Neil Craig's been their one and only coach, so no doubt and no surprise that they were respectful and very careful of how they spoke about him. But all of a sudden, there's somebody new in who they can talk to, who's on their same level, who's a similar age to a lot of them, who speaks the same language, who has said to them all, loosen up, boys. Loosen up. Don't be so uptight. Yeah. So all of a sudden, there's this environment in this place that hasn't been there for a few years. People are engaging with you. They're talking. They're up. They're enjoying their footy, and they're playing like it.
The players are admitting it too. You got to give a bit of credit, Bone, and reach to the list management too, and also Matt Rendell and perhaps even Neil Craig, because their list now, given the fact that they've lost Gunston. Box gone, and they've lost Phil Davis, who was one of their first-round draft choices. They've picked up a couple of young lads in Crouch and Luke Brown, who are going to be superstars down the track, or certainly stars down the track. Has Sanderson just come in, just tweaked a little bit? I mean, the list all of a sudden now looks quite good.
I think you underestimate if you're going to say tweak.
Well,
it's not a tweak. That is a major shift.
Or are the players playing perhaps for as Chris says, a new coach comes in and you want to impress, you don't have your divine right to have a tick in the first 18.
It's not just about the way they are playing. It's about the way they want to play it. It's one thing to actually deliver a game plan and the players go, yeah, fine, but they also have to want to play it. They've not only bought it, embraced it, they've actually taken it and made it their own. So that's the ultimate win for a coach, isn't it?
Well, it is.
Put something up on the board. As Brenton's talks, he says it's our chalk and talk sessions, and there've been a lot of them over the summer, is they've more than bought into it. They've actually taken ownership of it. Now, admittedly, Chris, you're right. Under pressure, you will fall back to your old habits. But that simplistic, get the ball, move it on quickly, this physical approach that they have. Look at the one player who stands out, and we know it's probably inevitable because of the shoulder injuries that he's had, but you go get a picture of Jason Portpleasure from last year this time to now.
And the size of him.
That is a major bulk up of the upper body. And then you start looking at other players around the Adelaide Footy Club. They are physically stronger. They are mentally sharper. And they are clearly in love with what's about to happen for them. An email that has come through, and this is where I feel most uncomfortable about how time destroys coaches. Because, look, Steve sent in an email, and I'll read it. And you'll understand why I've got a little concern about how history is now tainting Neil Craig, because when Neil Craig arrived at Adelaide, remember, we were thinking this was a man who had regenerated Adelaide, had certainly created a game that became a model for every premiership side between 2005 and 2009.
Probably should have made 2 grand finals.
Should have won one. I think Neil Craig is at risk at the moment because all of a sudden there's this new energy of getting bashed significantly. And Steve's done that where he's saying, many of us have the opinion that Neil Craig was one of the most boring coaches of all time. The one thread of hope was that his supposed sports science genius would produce fantastic football athletes. Now that he's gone, the Crows are playing faster, more open and certainly less boring football. In addition, look how many few pre-season injuries the Crows have this year compared to any year under Neil Craig. Do I need to say any more? Well, that's the tone that's coming out at the moment. But I think if we go back to 2005, 2006, we were all raving about the way Neil Craig had taken Adelaide to a new edge. And there is no doubt that Sydney and West Coast played off that edge.
Pinch one too.
Exactly.
Malthouse and Sheedy actually said, how do we beat this team?
Malthouse
they said that,
was
remember?
Very public.
During the season, how do we beat this team?
They are the Malthouse was definite that Adelaide were the best kit going around, and full of praise for them. But
Mark Rashido doesn't get reported round 22. They're probably playing the grand finals. It's probably as simple as that. Your best player, they only just got beaten by St Kilda in the game that he missed. So, bit of excitement out Adelaide way too. Scotty Camporeale, their midfield coach. Difficult year last year, but all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. Scotty, good morning. How are you?
Good, boys. How you going?
Yeah, good effort last night. Where have you seen the major differences? I know it's only early stages, but injuries, you've had a fairly good run with injuries, but where have you seen it so far, Scotty?
Yeah, well, obviously having a full healthy list makes a difference. I think if you ask 17 other footy clubs if they can have their best 22 playing regularly, most teams are going to be in the hunt to play some really good footy. But, you know, I just think the group's matured another 12 months. You know, guys like Sloan, Brodie Smith, McKern and those guys that played a fair bit of footy last year are now more comfortable at the level.
Scott, it seemed to be just a little bit more to it than just that. They've bought into this whole change at Adelaide so quickly. Who's generated that change and that acceptance so quickly within the player group? We know the coach leads it, but someone's got to buy it. So who's taken it most in the player group?
Oh, I think it's been collective, really. I mean, you don't get the result and the change that quickly if the whole group don't buy in. So, you know, I just think they were really receptive to a new change of philosophy and the way we wanted to go about playing. And obviously, as I said, the experience that those guys got last year in a tough year is really important in the development of the group.
The pace too of the midfield, Scotty, you're a quick player yourself, but to see Dangerfield at times and Rory Sloane zip in and out, I mean, you get a bit of leg speed together with Thompson and suddenly the midfield looks a little bit better.
Yeah, well, it's always been a constant battle, I reckon, trying to get the right mix in there of speed and as well as, you know, those guys that are winning that hard contested footy in there. So, you know, we've changed the way that we've sort of structured up a little bit, but, you know, we're getting a lot of guys through there now that have got that burst and speed, and that's the way the game's going. So to get Callanan in there, to get Wright in there, to get Petrenko in there, and then, you know, I guess your top liners in Thompson, Dangerfield, Sloane. We've got a really good mix now.
Scotty, talk to us about the back line. I mean, as you said, you nearly got your best kid on the park, and one of those key players in your back is Benny Rutten. So having him back will make an enormous difference. It still looks like the area of most concern at the moment.
Yeah, look, it is. I mean, I think, you know, obviously having Truck back there just stabilises the whole back line, particularly when you've got a young defence, with Shaw and Talia and I guess Luke Thompson. But, I think you saw last night you'd be pretty impressed with the way Sammy Shaw went about his business, keeping doors to 3 possessions. So he did a really good job. And, Taylor's stuck to his job on a pretty tough opponent in Cloak. So, it's going to depend, I think, weekly what oppositions are going to do with whether they have 2 or 3 tools to see which way we go.
Tell us about the actual game, Scotty. I thought the first half was as good a pressure we've seen so far this year in the NAB Cup. Second half seemed to be more like a training drill, like Collingwood almost put up the flag. But to half time, it was a sensational game. Yeah,
look, in the box, we felt like that we were sort of fairly in control of the game. It was sort of going up and back, and it was centre bounce after centre bounce. It was pretty not much in between. So by half time, we thought we were still in control of the game. Brought some fresh legs on, and it did open up late in the game. But I think that's probably what the AFL are looking for, and you probably saw what potentially might happen in the future with having the 2 interchange with the 2 sub. Teams get fatigued, the game starts to open up, and there was a fair few goals over the back late in the game.
Scott, did last night enhance the argument against those who think Kurt Tippett should be a stay-at-home full forward, that he's too good to leave there, that he can play certainly through the midfield, you can even throw him in defence every so often to just hold up a team?
Oh, no, I think we need to still keep developing Tippo to play both roles. I think a guy of his ability and the way he goes about it, I think he still really can be a really strong attribute where if you have him and Jacobs combination going in the ruck, what it does is it gives him an opportunity. If he's not going so well forward, you can throw him into the midfield and change things up for him rather than being stale left at home with potentially a 2-on-1 all the time.
Got to get Ian Callanan on that senior list, fella. I think last night, and I know we'll preface everything we say at the moment by saying, yes, it's pre-season, but Callanan is genuine class, and Tommy Lynch gives you a point of difference as well. Like the look of him.
Yeah, he does. It's a great story. Callanan's story. He's been to 4 AFL clubs, never got picked up. We would have loved to play him a little bit more last year, but obviously got injured. But that's why we picked him up, to see what he did last night and a half. He really tore the game apart. So his skill, his cleanliness, his pressure that he puts up forward was outstanding. So he's going to make our job pretty tough in the next couple of weeks. But Tommy Lynch, definitely a point of difference. Bit of a lead-up player, hard match-up. Not super quick, but a really quick mind, and the way he uses the ball is excellent.
Does he complement Taylor Walker, or are they vying for the same position? Can you have them both in your front 6?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Bone, at the moment. It's going to be one of those ones, whether you throw McKernan in the mix as well. I thought he was outstanding again last night to bob up, and he's matured as a player as well. So, there's some real competition there, which is great.
Just in closing, every coach has a favourite, and everyone likes to see how they progress, Scotty, through the pre-season. If you picked one that's made a rapid improvement and perhaps kept a close eye on, which player would it be out there?
I'd be keeping an eye on Brodie Smith. I thought he was outstanding last night. As a first-year player last year, he was a skinny kid, played on the wing, really, really raw. And I thought he really matured last night. His body shape's changed over the summer. And, for him to be able to play midfield and back in a really tight game, I thought he was outstanding. So we're expecting big things from him this year.
Scott, can you help one of your fans, Cheryl, who sent in an email? She wants to know why Mark Bickley wasn't seen last night, and perhaps you could tell us if he's handing out cigars yet.
He's definitely had a little baby boy. So him and Tori had a little baby, and they called him Xavier. So, Bix was there. He was in the box, but he was a proud father. So the club's happy they got another father-son rule.
Good on you, Scotty. Thanks for your time, mate. Well done.
No worries. Thanks, guys.